First of all, thank you all for coming. I am personally not a big fan of online conferences, so I'm really glad that I'm speaking here in front of live audience. And please feel free to ask me anything. At the end, this is mostly based on my personal experience and opinions. So I hope it will be interesting for you to listen to, I think, a bit shorter than Marius. He had really a lot of data and insights to show. So we are speaking today about how to plan basically long-term marketing strategy, and with it, maybe the most important part, investments. So how to invest, and I think it should be interesting to anybody working in marketing on strategic, tactical level, and also to the people who are basically approving all of our budgets in companies. So we are in an extremely dynamic industry. I think all of us are working here because of that. So that's why it's even more interesting how to do this. Just to cover short this, my name is Andrej, head of marketing in Nordeus. And what's interesting maybe that my background recently was in Nordeus, that I was leading performance marketing team, user acquisition. But before that, I was actually working in agencies on some bigger traditional global brands like McDonald's, Visa, Renault, which have pretty different way of doing marketing compared to mobile games. Again, about Nordeus, for you who doesn't know it, we were founded in 2010. Since recently, we became of Take-Two family 1 year ago, and I think all of you know their games, GTA, and some of my personal favorites from childhood, and even now, when I can play them. We have a lot of different nationalities in the company and 3 live games. The one which we are most proud of, which actually made Nordeus, some of you maybe again know it, it's Top 11. It's a football manager game on mobile, leading football manager game on mobile. And since recently we actually launched probably the biggest campaign in the history of Nordeus, and that's adding 3D match to the game, which was a really big bet from both product and marketing side. We invested huge efforts in it, and already now, because it happened 2 months ago, we can say that it's, the investments are coming back, definitely. You can see this guy. I guess all of you know him. My name is Jose Mourinho, and that TikTok trend becoming very popular at the moment. So today we will be speaking about a few things, but to end up with, as I said, how to decide on marketing investment decisions, basically, and long-term planning. We will start from basically channels, then going into differences between performance and brand, and how do we approach that, and then basically deciding on marketing investments, and something which I will try to make some trends, to come up with some trends which will I think happen in the near future. So let's start with channels. So channels for mobile gaming, what's really I think cool and good in the, I don't know, past 10 to 15 years is that channel mix became much richer. With digital era and with mobile actually coming, we got media mix from which we can choose, which has now social networks, which has search engines, which has search engine advertising, which has something more specific to maybe mobile gaming, e-commerce, like DSPs, like video networks. But we still have all the good traditional channels which we shouldn't forget, like TV, out of home, and everything else. And just to show you maybe what we are using the most, and sorry, this didn't look like this. This is not our usual way of doing UX. Basically, what is the media mix we have for our games, which we use? So social networks are big for us, basically all the social networks, but we all know which are the biggest players there. Google Ads, of course, which I think was very visible from Mario's presentation, how important it is, especially for installs and scale, because obviously, at least for us, it's working much more on Android. Then we have something more specific, again, as I said, to mobile, like video networks, search, which is again part of the Google, but can be Apple Search Ads, Google Play Search, Google Search. And then we have 2 very interesting ones. Influencers, we started, I don't know, 6 years ago. It was pretty cheap. And people were not that used to like seeing ads in influencer videos. Now they are, so I think there needs to be done complete shift in how you do influencer marketing, much more connection with them, even making some product integrations, at least with the bigger ones, and with the smaller ones. There are many successful examples, which I cannot say now because some of them are competitors, how they did programs actually to engage long-term micro and small influencers doing videos for them. And then why I said like traditional media we shouldn't forget is that TV since like recently, like we always tried it, but I think since recently it really became like much more sophisticated, so we are kind of using it more and more in our media mix, and I will speak more about that. What was the big game changer for us, because I was doing previously also a lot of TV, especially for brands like McDonald's, Renault, that's their main channel by far. But I think this will happen now more and more, that people are using TV because of this option for performance TV. And it's not only anymore in USA, you can do it in Germany, you can do it in UK, in many European markets. And basically what you can have is performance measurement for the start, which is really good, but maybe even more important is performance media buying. So you can basically buy not as sophisticated obviously as on digital channels, but it's much better and better from year to year. And that helps us to have actually profitable campaigns there. What's different, it takes much more effort, is to make TV ads. They should be made with a higher quality, which means higher cost for production and basically bigger effort. Like it takes more time than just iterating for, like usual digital channels. But what it gives you is, besides like installs and all the measurement you can see like immediately and short term, it gives you also long-term effect, and we'll check on the next slide some independent studies in which that can be shown. And also it impacts all the digital campaigns in a positive way. This one is really important when you're speaking with your head of finance or whoever in the company to explain that you cannot expect the same return of investment like as from other digital channels. And this is actually maybe not so applicable to mobile, because TV is obviously here like, a clear favorite in terms of short-term and long-term effects, taking into combination both. I think this is not the case for mobile, but I think, this red part, which is long-term effects, it's true. It is bigger than for other digital channels or any other channels, but it's not the biggest channel, and it shouldn't be. Also, this is, and which we saw in our data also, but obviously like all the data here is either independent service or like something which is not our real data because we cannot use it. But I can just say that this is what we also saw. Like when we used TV in one market, we saw almost immediately or after 1 week or two, really positive impact on click-through rates and all the other digital metrics. So that's what we also took into account when measuring that investment. And the second chapter, like before we jump into like basically investment decisions or planning long term, is maybe what I mentioned at the beginning, how to combine performance and brand marketing. This is really smart, like what is brand performance marketing? It's basically marketing based on performance. So like, what does it mean? Like, it's not that we all consider here as only user acquisition or only something where we acquire users and measure how much money we invested and revenue coming back. It can be any metric we set that we want to achieve and then measure, and based on those measurable results, we make decisions. So we can even decide on some brand metric which is really important for us, or some other part of the funnel which is not users we want to increase. But what is really important for performance is that actually you have measurement. And if you have measurement, you can know what's working, what's not working, and then basically make performance decisions along the way. So it's a much wider like than the user acquisition only. And these are some of the examples for top 11 which I wanted to show. Like, this is user acquisition, and this is 100% performance ads. And I showed you, like, for example, 3 concepts which are working for us, which we tested. And we tested many concepts. Why is it important like to have winning concepts? Because usually our approach at least is that we invest 80% of our production budget, about in-house efforts and creative team efforts into iterating these winning concepts with some changes either at the beginning or like small iterations, and that's making our campaign sustainable on big budgets. And then 20% we actually invest in making some fourth, fifth, sixth concept which is working for us, which is usually very high risk and usually doesn't work. But if it works, it will give much bigger incremental results than iterating on the winning concepts. And here you can see like we have celebrity ads, which is mostly using our brand ambassador, but we did use some other celebrities relevant to our target audience. We have cinematic ads, which are basically representing the fantasy of the game. So it's not like representing the gameplay itself, it's like what is it like to be a football manager? You know, what's your feeling, emotional connection when playing the game? High cost, but usually works pretty nicely. Like for many games if you sell it nicely. And then gameplay ads, which actually became much nicer since 2 months ago with 3D engine. Before that, it wasn't so visually nicely to represent them in ads. But yeah, now like as you can see, it's you know like it looks really good. So the first big pillar was when I was speaking about like the performance marketing, user acquisition is creative. You know, like it's really important. Media buying, that's basically like channels I explained before, and all of you know how we do that in terms of media buying. And the third, I would say like for me at least the most interesting one, since I always wanted to do marketing but loved data and now I am able to do both, is like that we are now living in data-driven reality and we need to make really good decisions in terms of something which also Mariusz talked about. How do we approach investments for user acquisition and how much room do we have to invest? So basically, at least like how we do it is we have lifetime value, you know, how much people spend or cohorts spend throughout the lifetime. And what we check is this, you know, here is the time and here we have like the growth of the lifetime value curve. And this goes only up until 1 year. Obviously, you know, they can spend 2, 3, 5 years, like we have in top line people playing for more than a decade. But I wanted to explain here only just up until 1 year, because if we, for example, set that we want to return money after 1 year, that payback window is 1 year, and it makes sense for us, we need to check what are the thresholds on day 7, day 3, day 30, so we can make quick decisions and then validate them when we have enough data. But we really need to have this day 3, day 7, so we know like pretty soon are we doing the right things. And what is the difference here? Again, the data is not real, but it's pretty realistic in terms of like this is like what some games do have in terms of the lifetime value curve growth, is that you know like this curve is growing, as you can see, much healthier. Let's call it like that. It has a steep growth, and that's why it's giving, you know, because it doesn't go flat pretty soon. It gives us that we, for example, in this scenario, have a return on investment on day 7, 14%. So we can invest money. If you see on day 7, we are returning 40% of that investment. And then in second scenario where the curve goes flat much sooner, you know, which is again can be a successful scenario. It doesn't need to be like the first one. It gives us much less room. If we want to return money after 1 year, we need to have day 7 return on investment 23%, which is making much higher pressure on marketing team, and again probably making our investments smaller because of that. So yeah, this is really important to have, and just I hope it's on the next slide. Yeah, it is. So this is, again, just some random examples how lifetime value curves can grow. And you can see here that it's not like if you don't have a data science team and data analytics team, it's fine. You can take historical data about your game and just, you know, see what's the lifetime value per market and check how much they grow up until 1 year. But it's always much better that you have like a model which data analytics team made, which can take many factors into it, you know, like, and like predict already after 7 days of the cohort age or 38 days of the cohort age how much it will grow. Because some, for example, for us, some markets grow faster, some grow slower. There is differences between platforms, iOS, Android. So like the share in some cohort of countries, platforms already can make a difference. And that's why it's really important to have that. Obviously, it's not going to be anywhere close to 100% correct, but it will make your lives much easier and much easier to know how much to invest, to push more budget or less, and how to plan for the next year. So that was mostly about user acquisition. As I said at the beginning, this is chapter performance versus brand. And again, why I want to say to talk more about this. Again, it looks like really we cannot make a presentation, but sorry for that. So yeah, investing in brand. Like when you decide on performance marketing budgets and user acquisition budgets, that's usually, if you have a sophisticated data model, LTV and all of that, an experienced team, it's not that hard, you know, and it's even not that hard to get alignment internally for that. But investing in brand is much harder. You know, you cannot prove the exact value of the money you plan to invest right away. You cannot see the short-term effects right away. And that's why like you need to basically have alignment on all of these key pillars, which that can bring you. I don't like to speak that much about top 11 regarding this. I was not here when top 11 brand was made, but I think that there was some really important decisions made early, like in the lifetime of the product and game. For example, Jose Mourinho as brand ambassador, where all games were just like some random icons, not random, but you know, without any like celebrities or anybody like that. We took like 9 years ago like Jose, and it really stand out, and it connected like at that moment the best football manager in the world to our game. And it really, I think that was just one of the examples I can give. But investments in brand can give you definitely market leader role. You know, like if you especially come to a genre which on mobile is not new to happen, that you completely develop a new genre. If you invest in that, all the games which come later will be copycats, and most of the people will not be open to play them or spend time in it, which will make your life much easier. Again, it can lower your CPIs. You know, like if the brand is well known, if you nail the first part of the funnel, people know about you, it will be much easier to convert them in any user acquisition campaigns. Longer player lifetime. So like we know that people like to play games, you know, which are top in the category, and they tend to spend more, to stick more, and that's something, if you develop it properly, you will benefit for a long time. And last but not the least is franchise possibility. So basically, again, we have many good examples in our industry where people used strong brands they developed with one game to basically make a franchise. You know, some similar games which are using like that brand familiarity, like in a way. So this is really important to get alignment on, and I really don't think mobile games should have share of investment in brand as, for example, Coca-Cola or some traditional brands have, McDonald's, because for them, performance marketing user acquisition is not so important pillar. For us, it is. But it shouldn't be like it happens oftentimes that there is actually no like budget for brand or efforts. And I think there is a big missing opportunity there also to put a percentage of the budget when you define your user acquisition budget, which you will invest, and not only the budgets, but also the efforts from the people. It usually requires more efforts than the budget itself. So yeah, these are just, again, as I showed, like user acquisition ads. I will just show you like what we do, you know, this was supposed to be a video, but you know, like obviously it's not. So let me explain you, like storytelling. So like this was something we did for a 3D launch campaign 2 months ago, where we obviously increased our user acquisition budgets and all of that, but we invested a lot to make a storytelling for our users who play game for years, to give them the storytelling of the evolution of top 11, which really you can check on our social channels and YouTube, made a huge hype, and it gained a huge virality because, they're there 5-10 years and they really wanted to feel some emotion because of this big change in game. And it was a really big effort to make it, production-wise. And this is something we like to do like once or 2 times per year. This is usually some funny content we create. Jose is a perfect guy for that. He loves doing something like that. And this was a campaign a year ago which went really nice, and it catch fire on TikTok, for example, where he was speaking with one famous funny comedy guy like on YouTube who is usually making funny videos impersonating some football managers, football players. And he did that speaking with Jose, so two Joses were speaking. And we were all of the time thinking, how will this go? Will he laugh or will he hate it? But it actually went really well. He was like three times and all of that stuff, and Jose loved it. So it catch fire. And this is something we usually try to do, to connect with our users on an emotional level, or to try to make viral campaigns, because we cannot compete in terms of the brand budgets with, again, let's mention Coca-Cola, because they have huge media buying budgets for brand campaigns. They make a content, then invest millions and millions into it. We cannot do that, on a global level, but we can try to make something which will give us earned media or virality, and that's how, our campaigns regarding brand can have much wider reach. And yeah, so last chapter, or maybe we have one more, but there is no sign of time, so I'm probably good. So investing in marketing, and again, what matters? Mariusz again mentioned the payback window. I think I spoke with many companies that everybody has a different approach and different payback windows, and I think that's completely fine. Everybody should have different payback windows, and I will just tell in these 2 slides why. The first important thing is product longevity. So how much people are staying in the game, how much are they spending, and all of that. Is it like a game where people leave after 3 months or stay for years? It's connected to the second one, predicted lifetime value. I explained that. So as long as it's good if they staying much longer, obviously, but also spend. So we need to check how is the lifetime value, behaving through time. And then the last, but not the least, and really important one is what matters. So external and internal factors. Especially internal factors, because we can control them somehow, but all of you on the product side work on your product, and you expect to increase monetization by X. You expect to increase retention by X. All of that will impact the first 2, and then there is a decision, should I, trust the team that will be done in 6 months or 3 months, or should I just say, let's just think that will not happen, and if it happens, we will adapt. So it's really important. And external, that's we saw in especially the last 2 years, with COVID and all of that, really hard, to predict. But that is something which can definitely impact your marketing. And then when we come down to the decision making, what I found from my experience is basically on that level, when you're speaking with all the key stakeholders in the company, you should take some of these approaches. Mariusz was speaking a lot about this approach, and that's the approach the best for growth. That's 100%. But, it can happen that in some companies, based on, your internal goals, you maybe need to take some other one. Conservative approach is obviously complete opposite. You don't take into account all the internal changes which will increase your lifetime value. You basically shorten your payback windows so you get your money back as soon as possible. For example, you have problems with cash flow. You cannot invest because you will end up in problems with cash flow. many different factors can impact that, and while the best approach for growth is definitely this one, some companies need to adapt to different approaches, and the conservative approach is, with the lowest level of risk, obviously. While the opposite is aggressive approach, where you invest as much as you can, you expand your payback windows, you even take into account the improvements you're going to make. Like now it looks we'll get money back in never, but with these improvements in product, we will get it back. People will stay, in 3 months we'll make this improvement, and money will actually come back in 2 years. So, it's a very aggressive approach. And then I'm, the biggest fan of balanced approach, where you and this is really good for growth. If you have goals as a company and product to grow, revenue and everything, which is the case in most of the companies, especially big ones, this is really something I see the most often. But I'm really a big fan of this balanced approach. It's something in the middle where you speak with internal key stakeholders and you find the balance, which can vary from company to company, even from time to time. And this is actually people who you need to align. You as somebody working in marketing, giving expertise and suggestion how much you should invest. You really need to have a strong alignment with the head of product, or however it is called, like a business owner, head of games, live games, game lead, and finance, head of finance. Because if you have that alignment internally, it will just make your life easier. You know what you are doing, you are all aligned on the goals, and there are no questions coming each month, why are we doing this or that? It's based on the goal we have. And again, this is something which requires even more alignment, because it's hard to justify in terms of numbers, like investment in brand marketing, but we talked about it before. This is usually, again, this is nothing real, this is just some graph I took, but this is something how I see it in my head. Investment from brand marketing can come year on year, if you are consistent and have a good brand strategy. And the trends, and that will be it from me. So I think we'll have time for questions also, if you have them. I really don't like speaking about the trends too much. One professor, I'm always telling this about trends, which I really love listening, said you predict 5 or 10 trends, and 9 on them come to true. Everybody says all the signals were showing that, so it was very easy to predict, and then you miss one, and they're like, this guy's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's speaking about, etc., etc. So, but that's why I took some really easy trends, which are already happening in this great presentation format. So, data consolidation will continue. So I think that's already happening. We saw it last year with Apple. And how do you say, our dependence on analytics teams and as a marketing team in mobile will be heavier and heavier. It's a big leverage if you're a bigger company, that you have analytics teams, which can make you a lot of your job easier. Not only now in terms of measurement and decisions, but also in optimization of campaigns, as we saw with Apple. But if you don't have it, there are some nice outsourcing agencies which can help you out before you grow to having analytics team in-house. The second one is cross-promote. This is, I think, not happening in closed environments, but I think everything is set for that to happen, and I think many are preparing for that, but it's obviously much more complex than it looks, at least to me. Many M&As, many companies grouping together, and that's becoming a close environments of many successful games, hyper casual, casual, hardcore, and if they find a way how to cross promo on benefits for each individual game, or not even maybe on each individual game, but benefits on the company level. Even if some games will hurt, but on a company level, it will make your life, it will make you more business KPIs, for example, transfer players from low LTV games to high LTV games and stuff like that, is something which can potentially happen. And market becoming more evergreen. I think in previous presentations, some slides were interesting. I think it was casual or RPG, how some games take huge amount of revenue, and even some really old games take huge amount of revenue. That's giving them position, you know, to make those competition barriers, and that market can become just more evergreen, and you have leaders in each category or few of them, and it's really hard to, you know, penetrate that category and earn like bigger piece of cake, you know. So that's something we know on PC and console, but on mobile it's also like kind of coming to life. And yeah, I think that's it for the summary. I would just like to, you know, highlight these 4 things which I was talking about. So don't forget about the brand. I think you know, our industry has a very high expertise in user acquisition. You know, I was also leading user acquisition team before marketing, but this is something which can potentially give you, you know, like additional benefit if you invest in that. Again, in a smart way, not over-invest like I saw some. This will be maybe, yeah, I saw some like people coming from traditional industry to mobile and like, now let's invest, you know, billions to brand. It's not like that. You cannot do that same as you did it in some traditional global brand, but you should invest in a smart way. Anything can be performance marketing, so you can even find a way, like if you need to justify investment in brand, to find some brand metrics, why you should invest in that, how you will invest in that, and even measure it, at least on a quarterly or yearly level, are you achieving that with the investment? So that can maybe help you with the talks internally, why are you doing that and what are you actually achieving. Take it slow to analyze for marketing budgeting. It needs a lot of factors. It needs a lot of maybe even more conversations. You need to prepare your part, but then have a lot of conversations, and not to forget, you know, speaking with the whole team. You know, like I was not speaking here on tactical level, but there is many things you need to take into account. You know, Google is the best channel for us, but you know, we saturated it. It has like frequency this and this and all of that. So on a tactical level, you have your team, and you need to speak with them all, you know, before the final decision. But when you have it, then you need to take it to the level of alignment on the whole company level, because marketing budgets usually take up to, I don't know, I think on average 30 to 40% of overall company revenue. So it's really important how you invest them. And trends, I think this is important. This is impossible to predict the future. You can just, you know, think about it, try to predict it, to prepare lightly. But what is maybe the most important is that you have organization, which I think proved, especially in COVID, whoever had the most agile organization ready for quick changes and adaptations benefited the most. You know, so like you should prepare your mindset organization to be as agile as possible. So you can leverage opportunities as they come, or even the risk, threats, you know, which can come in the future. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Andrej, thank you very much for your presentation. It's a very interesting topic. Maybe do you have any question? No. Thank you. Yes? Yes?
Hi. Well, thank you for the presentation. My question is, have you, for the going 3D, have you considered going sequel or?
In a sequel in terms of like enhancing the 3D or?
No, I mean the.
Aha.
That's the case.
Well, that's a really good question. I cannot explain, I cannot always tell all the details, but yes, for sure, you know, like the football engine we developed, it's actually completely in-house, so we didn't take any piece of technology or outsource anything, so it's our tech now, and it's giving us opportunities beside top 11 where we implemented in one way to adapt it a bit, maybe, and you know, implement in any football game in the future. So it's a very valid question, and yeah, it's possible.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.